Winston Churchill is quoted as saying, "A lie gets halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to get its pants on." Well, if he were alive today, he would probably say, "Don't even bother with the pants. The lies are now our truths." The Brexit campaign, the U.S. presidential campaign, they will go down in history as seminal events in the rise of everything fake news. The news media have come under unprecedented attack from the soon-to-be powers that be in Washington. And in this erosion of influence, a new tide is bringing in the post-truth era. In fact, post-truth has been named Oxford Dictionaries, as you see right there behind me, the 2016 International Word of the Year. Now, here is part of how Oxford Dictionary explain their choice. Take a listen.
Post-truth. British politics was dominated this year by the Brexit referendum. In America, it was the presidential election. Both campaigns caused spikes in the usage of the phrase post-truth. That is, when objective facts are less influential in shaping public opinion than appeals to emotion and personal belief. The phrase could now take on an even wider importance. It describes not just particular assertions, but a general characteristic of our age. And its usage in 2016 has sat overwhelmingly alongside just one other noun, cementing the idea of post-truth politics. The truth, lamented one British newspaper commentator recently, has become so devalued that what was once the gold standard of political debate is a worthless currency.
So there you have it. Truth, a worthless currency. How in the world do you fight a world where that is the case? Well, I'm joined now by Brooke Binkowski, editor at Snopes.com. That is a website that separates rumor from the truth. And also by Catherine Martin. She is head of United States Dictionaries at Oxford University Press. To both of you, welcome to the day. It's good to have you on. Let me start with you, Catherine, and ask, was the decision for post-truth, was it, for your staff, was it a no-brainer, unanimous, and obvious decision? That's what we have to go for?
It had this by far the strongest support in our editorial group that was discussing it. And this was well before the election. We saw from the beginning of the year that the usage of this word was rising, and it struck us as resonating with a lot of different issues, the Brexit campaign, the US presidential election, but also the broader discussions that we're having about filter bubbles and how people are increasingly exposed only to information that reinforces the ideas that they already have.
And it's a transatlantic phenomenon, isn't it? It's not something that we're just seeing on one side of the pond.
Exactly, and that's actually somewhat unusual. Usually when we sit down to think about the word of the year and we look at the evidence we have, there are partisans for a US word or a UK word, and there are a few things that really cross the barrier, but that wasn't the case at all this year. In spite of the very different current events that were happening in the two countries, we felt that there was an overall atmosphere and concept underlying that discussion, and that post-truth really summed it up.
Post-truth. Brooke, let me pull you in. And for our audience, our international audience, tell us what exactly are you guys doing at Snopes.com? I mean, your website, we've been telling people about it and teasing the show, and people say that the website is actually just fun to maneuver. What are you guys doing?
Well, what we do, it started out as urban legends, folklore, the kind of things you hear from a friend of a friend. Somebody had their organs stolen on a trip somewhere and woke up in a tub of ice. It started that way. But over the past 20 years, it's morphed into a more general fact-checking website. And it's clear now that fact-checking is an incredibly important aspect of news gathering. I mean, it should have been clear all along, but apparently it was kind of murky. And so what we
what do you mean? What do you mean by that? What do you mean it was murky? I mean, hasn't the media all along been fact-checking? I mean, isn't that what all journalists learn?
Well, it is, but the problem is more fundamental when it comes to newsrooms. And this is a particular axe I have to grind as a journalist. I've been a journalist for a very long time, 20 years, 21 years. Oh my gosh. Anyway, it's basically journalists do want to fact check and they do want to tell the truth and they do want everything, but everybody's been laid off. I just saw news that Fusion and Univision have started laying off employees in the editorial staff, among others. People are pressed for time. There's toxic work environments in newsrooms. And so they feel like they have to do more and more and more and put out story after story. And there's no time to fact check. There's no time to do anything but aggregate. You can't call, you can't ask you. And, real fact checking, in-depth sourcing is incredibly time consuming and takes resources. And so those resources are now going elsewhere. And my particular axe is put those resources back in the newsrooms, because this is what we get. You get some story that people are talking about on social media, and then some journalist is pressed for time and says, well, we don't have a lot of time, so let's just talk about what people are talking about. And then that gives a sheen of legitimacy to some story that is actually not legitimate at all. And I've seen that pattern bear out again and again. You fact check those.
We want to share with both of you and our audience today some proof of just how quick a fake or even a parody Twitter account can seem very real. Something that happened to us today. Earlier today, and we're going to show the viewers this. Earlier today, Donald Trump liked a tweet that I had sent out about him and the German chancellor and the Russian president. And maybe we'll show that to our viewers. There you go. Well, that's not it, but we're going to get it in a second. Now, if you click on to Donald J. Trump and you glance at the banner, it looks like the real thing. But you're going to, unfortunately, our graphics is, okay, my producer says they don't have it. Anyway, it was an account that looked like the real thing, but in very fine print was the word parody. And so it was very easy to think that this was real. And when you think, you're a sophisticated user of social media, you realize that the eye is looking for the easy way to get information all the time. So what do you do then to combat that? It's easy to lie, especially with online news now.
It's so easy. And that's why when we see something that looks specious or too good to be true, or, there's the outrage clicks is what I call them. The people who they're just so mad and they see something, they're like, oh, I knew it all along. And so they'll just share it and click, and they won't bother reading it, but they will click long enough to share it. And that's how everything gets perpetuated and rumors and outright lies get spread. And I think there's a fair amount of disinformation and misinformation deliberately being put into the mix. But I think a lot of it, too, is just people misjudging satire, for example. A lot of these websites, if you look at their About page and you scroll all the way down, they'll say this is intended to be satirical.
Right.
Don't sue us. But you have to look for
Excuse me for interrupting you there. Let me just ask you about Facebook and the role of Facebook as the super editor that the entire world has to deal with. There's been a lot of criticism about Facebook not acting like an editor, as it probably should. And Mark Zuckerberg, a couple of days ago, he sent out this open letter on Facebook explaining his position. And basically, he said, more than 99% of what people see on Facebook is authentic. Only a very small amount is fake news and hoaxes. That's not true, is it? There is a lot of fake and misleading information out there now, and people don't realize it.
Well, I'm not privy to the metrics by which Facebook is measuring that, but it does not seem accurate to me. However, having said that, Facebook is a big megaphone for fake news. Social media across the board is. So is Google. And it does, like news organizations, lend a veneer of legitimacy to, the fake news that you see. However, I think, and I cannot stress this strongly enough, I think pointing the finger at Facebook or Google or Twitter or any other form of social media is simply a Band-Aid over a much larger problem, which is, as I said, newsrooms, but also politicians. We need to hold politicians accountable.
Yeah, how about just telling the truth for a change, right?
Right?
we're gonna-
I mean, that
we're
would
gonna-
be incredible.
Yeah, it does tell the truth for a change. Yeah. Ladies, we're going to have to stop it there. Brooke Binkowski, editor at Snopes.com, and Catherine Martin with Oxford University Press. Thank you to both of you. We appreciate it. We're almost finished with the day, but the
Thanks for
conversation,
having
it continues either at DW News or you can write to me at Brent Goff TV. And don't forget to use the hashtag the day. And remember, whatever happens between now and then, tomorrow is another day.